Hi, my name is Wes and I'm with Mila. Today I'm at ECS Tuning, and these guys and girls here have so many cool European cars, and today they're letting me put my hands on a B8.5 Audi, and we'll be doing a transmission oil service on this cool car. So the Mila kit that we will be using for this oil change service comes with your gasket, a premium filter for the internal filter and for the external filter, premium quality made in Germany oil, and all the bolts, magnets, and hardware that you will need to do the job properly. Now, the tools that you will need for this job, most people should have. You're gonna need several different torque wrenches, several different ratchets, a Phillips head screwdriver, a 10mm Allen, which actually I was using a 10mm Allen socket also, a T20, a T30, an 18mm, 17mm, an M14 triple square, a trim tool, an infrared gun, a breaker bar, and some kind of filling device. So first we're going to start by removing this belly pan, and it's got 3 different types of fasteners on it. We're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver, a Torx bit, and a trim removal tool, because you got a couple push pins here on the side. And already taking a look at this one, I can see that we've got a little bit of a oil leak coming from the transmission pan, so we'll definitely be taking care of that today. Now that I've gotten the underbelly tray off, to gain access to the transmission pan, I'm gonna have to remove this cross brace, which it will take 18mm socket to take off these bolts, and also an M14 triple square, which actually for the skid plate I'm not going to take off. It looks like I can just pull it down enough in order to gain access to those 2 bolts, so it should be pretty easy. Now that we have the cross brace off, we're going to remove the cap for the external filter. It takes a 17mm on the end of the cap to get it off. Now keep in mind, if you are going to be replacing this cap, there are 2 different ones, so make sure you get the right one. They don't always interchange, and it could cause some leaking problems, so make sure you're doing it properly. So now this is the external filter that we are replacing, and you'll notice that between the filter and the cap you've got 2 O-rings. It's a good idea to lubricate the O-rings with some fresh engine oil. You've got one here on the end of the filter, and then one on the inside of the cap here. It just helps them to seat a little bit better, and also it's a good idea on this cap to clean the outside of it. This one was kind of nasty. For the cap on this external filter, the German torque spec of Gutentite isn't going to work, so let's tighten it down to 8 Newton meters. So an important thing to do before you drain any fluid from a car is to make sure that you're able to refill it. So on this one, I went to go take out the fill plug, and I noticed this. Not even finger tight. So that's probably where our leak is coming from. So make sure you're torquing everything properly when we're done. And you know, we'll go through that whenever we get to that point. But again, just make sure you are able to refill it whenever you start to drain the fluids out. It takes a 10mm Allen to remove the drain plug. I've started breaking loose the bolts that are holding on the pan, and usually when I'm taking these out, I like to leave the ones on the corners for last, and usually I try to balance the remaining oil that's inside of the pan so that it doesn't splash up in my face, so just take care when you're doing that. Oil's going to kick out because it has on every other thing. Now that I have the oil pan removed and I have it on the bench, I'm going to remove the gasket. And we need to clean up this pan. I'm going to clean up both the inside and the outside because the outside was pretty nasty too. Also, there are 2 bar magnets in here. We're going to toss those because our Mila kit came with 2 new ones, so we'll replace those while we're at it. But we want to make sure that we are putting a clean pan back in this car. For this internal filter, we have a little O-ring that is in the kit. It goes along this top locating tab, which it doesn't do any sealing. It just kind of helps to hold the filter in place. And like before on the other O-rings, we're going to want to put a little bit of transmission oil along this O-ring here so that it will seat properly. When you're working with this internal filter, you've got some wires here. Just be careful with those. There we go. I've cleaned the inside and outside, and I've already put the new gasket into place. Now the new gasket has a couple of rubber locating tabs that help hold it in place when you are putting the transmission pan up, so that's quite convenient. Also, the rail along the bottom of the transmission I have wiped down with a dry, clean towel. You want to make sure that this is a clean and dry surface for your new gasket to mate to. I'll take a couple of bolts and I'll just put them in by hand to hold the pan up while I start threading in the rest of the bolts. To torque down the transmission oil pan, we'll set our torque wrench to 10 Newton meters, and we will follow the pattern as shown on the screen from ALLDATA. Also, one thing that's worth mentioning is that on the drain plug, it has a gasket that was on it. It was aluminum in color and it was kind of hard to see. So make sure you don't double gasket this plug when you put it back in. The Mila plug is copper, and so again, clean up that plug and torque it down to 35 Newton meters. Now we fill it up. I've done the initial fill of oil into the transmission. I filled it up until the oil started dribbling out. Then I replaced the fill plug. Next, I will start up the engine, let the transmission get up to temperature, and then I will check the oil level again. Now, the temperature of the transmission needs to be between 30 and 50 degrees Celsius, and you do want to check it with the engine running. Once you have turned off the engine, all the oil in the transmission tends to settle in the bottom towards the pan, and so if you check it, you're going to be letting out extra oil that you will need. I have torqued down the fill plug to 35 Newton meters. Now the cross brace, I've put it back on also. The bolts on it were torqued down to 90 Newton meters and then 135 degrees past that. So we have no leaks and everything looks good under here after our test drive, so I'll put the belly pan back on and we'll be done. As you can see, it's not a terribly difficult job. Just take your time and pay attention to detail. The one major thing to look after is the oil level. The oil inside of the transmission has a lot of different things it is doing while the transmission is running. If it is too low, it's not able to do those things as well. Also, if it is overfilled, it can become whipped up and get aerated, and it's still not able to do those things very well. So making sure that you have the proper oil level at the proper temperature is critical. We will have links to the tools and service kit in the description below. Like, comment, and subscribe for more enthusiast content.